Hello everybody and welcome back to Lace's Dungeon. Today's story is Dude Goes from Vaguely Murder Hobo to Actual Serial Killer Vibes. Once upon a time, when I was doing study abroad in college, I joined my new school's tabletop society. I'd been playing D&D and Pathfinder for nearly a decade, so I thought this would be a good way to make friends. I wasn't the only girl in the club, but there certainly wasn't a lot of us. And I ended up being the only girl in the regular group I played with. Most of the dudes were your stereotypical awkward nerd type, but they were good guys. And after we started playing, and they saw I knew what I was doing, they accepted me as one of them. The club met 3 times a week, and we played TTRPGs until the wee hours of the morning. I still have great memories of that year and the people I hung out with. Then there's that guy. That guy played a goblin alchemist. There were a lot of us at the table, so things could get pretty chaotic pretty fast, but we still managed to build bonds between our characters. That guy, at first, was really friendly and outgoing, and his characters were really funny. Goblin alchemists especially would always turn the session on its head, which was fine because none of us were taking it that serious anyways. He attached himself to my fighter character pretty quickly. I was cool with that because Alchemist's player seemed chill and had a comfortable dynamic with the group. I met up with these guys 3 days a week for months. We really got to know each other. That guy and I became good friends. We even started to hang out outside of club meetings because I was a foreigner and he offered to show me around the city. I never felt weird or awkward around him until one day, 3 months ago, 3 months before I'm set to fly home. That guy confesses that he had feelings for me and wanted to be in a relationship. You need to know, reader, for context, I am one of the most oblivious people on the planet. Any and all signals that this was coming went totally over my head. I was blindsided and apologetic because I didn't feel the same way. I tried to let him down easy. I told him that I thought he was a great person, but I wasn't really looking for a relationship, especially since I was going to be flying back home to my country in a pretty short time. It didn't make sense to me to start something I knew would have stopped. He was upset, which I understood, and I told him I valued our friendship and offered to give him space. He said, no, it was okay. Obviously, he'd need some time, but he didn't want me to feel like I couldn't hang out with our other friends. It would be fine. It was not fine. At first, club meetings were a little awkward because his character wasn't buddying up to mine like he usually did. I figured that would happen, and I wasn't surprised by it, so I tried to go on like normal. Over time, Alchemist's player became more animated again, and started getting back into our old shenanigans of sowing Pathfinder chaos. And then things started getting uncomfy. My character rescued a young elf from a bad situation. Its own very silly story that I will skip, and the DM allowed me to bring the elf along sort of as my sidekick. Alchemist insisted on interacting with the elf as well, treating him very affectionately, and insisting that his character and mine were co-parenting the NPC. No one else seemed to take this very seriously, so I didn't either. In-game relationships don't reflect real-life ones after all. But then Alchemist started to get very possessive of my character, and the player started texting me late at night on days we weren't playing. He'd say he missed me, or talk about how sad he was that I didn't want to date him, and how badly it was affecting his mental health. I was smart enough to know he was trying to guilt me into going out with him, but apparently too stupid to just cut him out of my life. Regardless, I didn't bite, and told him that if his mental health was really that bad, that he should go speak to a therapist or a counselor. Our school even had some on staff, but that wasn't the answer he wanted. So he would always back off until a few days later where he'd text me again and we'd go through the whole song and dance once more. At club meetings, I tried to stay casual, because I didn't want to drag all the other guys in the group in on the drama. We were all adults, we could be friendly and mature around each other, right? As far as I knew, none of them were aware of what that guy was saying to me behind the scenes. Then one fateful night, the paradigm was shifted. Another guy in the group, we'll call him Rogue, came over to our table before the game started, when everyone was just chatting and goofing off. Rogue was probably one of the only humans more blind to non-verbal cues than I was. One of his characters was literally poisoned by another member of the party, who poured the poison in his drink right in front of him. But the player was playing a phone game at the time, and I wasn't paying attention. Anyway, Rogue comes over to the table and slides right on up to Alchemist and says, just loud enough for all of us to hear, "Hey, I heard you got a crush on a redhead in the club." The table went dead silent. There were only 2 redheads in the club, one of which was of course me. To be fair, the other one was another very sweet, very pretty girl who it could have been. I could tell from the blissfully unaware look on Rogue's face that his head was empty of all thoughts and implications of what he just said. However, I could also tell that every other one of the guys present knew exactly who Alchemist had a crush on. I could also tell that none of them knew I was aware of it. It was a painfully awkward, in a strange way, funny moment. Alchemist somehow managed to not answer Rogue's question, and everyone else rushed to start the game so they had an excuse to not talk about it. But somehow that moment cracked open Pandora's box of cringy behavior. Alchemist's possessiveness started to bleed out of character. While that guy was still chipper and outgoing to everyone else, there was now a sharper edge to his jokes. He started being a D to other guys I was friends with, but he always played it off like it was a joke. The texts about how I was ruining his life by not dating him were still coming fast and strong. Eventually, even my idiotic self had had enough. I told him firmly that I was never going to be in a relationship with him, and his behavior made it so I didn't even want to remain friends with him. Should I have continued going back to games with him after all that? I meant to turn that off. Obviously, I forgot. It's a bit too late. No, probably not. But the siren song of friendship and TTRPGs was too strong. The breaking point came one literal dark and stormy night. We were taking a pizza break from the game and all just goofing off. I was talking to the orc barbarian. I think commiserating that he would have to ride his bike home after this in the rain. I made some joke. I don't remember about what, but that guy's loud and manic laughter will be forever imprinted on my mind. I legitimately didn't recognize him when I looked at his face. His smile was so weird and his eyes were so bugged out, still laughing like it was a joke. He said that I would probably like him more if he skinned Barbarian alive and wore his skin like a suit. I did not know what to say to that. I don't think anyone knew what to say to that. Rogue, bless him, looked up from his phone and asked if there was any pizza left. That night, I noped out of the game early, and I was looking over my shoulder the whole bus ride back to my dorm. I blocked that guy's number and told DM that I was not coming back to any game he was playing in. DM said, "Yeah, that's fair." Thankfully for me, that guy stopped coming around to club meetings as much after that. My game nights went from 3 to 2 a week, which was unfortunate, but not long after that incident, the school year ended and I flew back home. Over time, I lost touch with my friends from the tabletop club, but thankfully, last I heard, no one had been turned into a skin suit. Sadly to say, this isn't the last time something like this would happen to me, but it was by far the most deranged. TLDR, a sort of chaotic but friendly fellow player admits he has a crush on me, and after getting rejected, threatens to go Buffalo Bill on another player to win my affections. Obviously, this is not really a RPG horror story, but definitely a horror story that came from RPG. I feel so bad, and it's sad that she had to deal with any of this. she tried to give that guy space when he originally came forward, and she continuously told him that she wasn't interested. It seems like he needs some help. There may be some attachment issues that he doesn't even know he has. And Rogue was obviously one of the best, coming forward and acting as though he knew nothing, which there is a possibility that he was that naive. But it was enough for the conversation to end and for her to practically get away from it. And I also understand why the games slowed with that guy. It was a bit creepy and scary what he had said to the barbarian, and they were probably just uncomfortable. I probably wouldn't be comfortable, even if I wasn't her. That's just a bit of a stretch for him to say. But anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments, and I'll see you next time at Lace's Dungeon. Goodbye.